Hi, I'm Rachel with Karefree Krafting. We have another quilt today. This is a Carpenter Star. This is all made with half square triangles. Pantone's color of the year is classic blue. Now I'm excited because blue is one of my favorite colors. So I've got a blue quilt, and I've got my blue sweater, and I've got my blue coffee cup, and maybe I went too far with the blue, but it is my favorite color. Now with this pattern, this is all half square triangles, and in order to change the size of the quilt, you change the size of the block. Some quilts you add blocks or subtract blocks. This one you just change the size. So for this one I made 11-inch blocks, and I ended up with a queen size quilt. I'll put the different size blocks to get different size quilts in the description box below. When you make the bigger blocks, you do end up with a lot of scrap. I started out with 2.5 yards of each color. I got a white, a light blue, and a dark blue. And you know, I don't recommend directional fabric for this one. I didn't realize I was getting it when I got it, but it doesn't all end up pointing the right way. And I ended up with quite a bit of scrap of each. But I have enough scrap that I can actually make a mini quilt. So we're going to make a 16-inch version of this so that you can see it all stretched out, because this doesn't really fit on my frame. Let's go see the block. Since we're dealing with half square triangles, we cut squares. These all measure 2.5 inches. They are for the background. You need 12 of these, and for blue, because I'm doing the 4 corners in blue. You could do the 4 corners in white. We'll set those aside for now. We don't need them just yet. The next thing we have are slightly larger squares. I've cut these at 3 inches. They have to be at minimum 3/8 of an inch larger than your background square. I've cut these at 3 inches for 2 reasons. 3 inches is easier to cut than 2 7/8. And when you have a smaller project, the smaller your project is, the more precision matters. And I can trim these down to the exact size rather than just kind of fudge it. With the bigger squares, you can fudge it a little bit. So what we're going to do is count off 8 of the dark blues. So now we have 2 piles of 8. Now we'll grab white. We have now we have a pile that's dark blue and white. And now we'll split these. So we want to split these into 3 piles. One pile is 8 dark blue and 8 light blue. One pile is 8 light blue and 8 white. And one pile is 8 dark blue and 8 white. The next thing we have to do is take all of our light fabrics, and we need a line from corner to corner on the back of each fabric. And this white can be tricky because it's a white on white print. But we're just going to go through our piles and draw a line to the back of the lighter fabric like that. I'm using a pencil and a ruler. If, for example, all of your fabrics were darker colors like this, that pencil mark would be a little bit harder to see. So you can get these chalk markers, and you could draw your line with that. Now that makes a nice bright line. But as I'm working with lighter fabrics, I'm just going to use this pencil. We take each set and we put them right sides together with the line up. Just like that. And then we'll sew on either side of this line. So we'll line this, we'll line the edge of our 1/4 inch presser foot up with this line. We'll do that for each of them. And you see how we got off a little bit on this one? That's okay, that's going to happen. That's why we cut this slightly too big at 3 inches instead of 3 7/8. So now we have this long string that consists of 24 of these. So we'll just break thread, find the end, and we'll do the same thing up the other side of the line. Only it goes a little bit quicker now because they're all stuck together. So we just flip them to where the line side is up, and we can zoom right through this. I know the sewing machine's loud. I usually edit it out, but I really wanted to show you guys this. I'll be back when this is done. What we have here is all of those units that we just made cut apart and laid into a pile. And as you can see, they're a bit wavy. So the first thing we'll need to do is press this flat. And since we're working in mini, I thought I would use the mini travel iron. So step 1 of this part is to just iron it flat. We'll press from both sides, get everything nice and flat again. Then we'll take our scissors and we'll cut on that line we drew. Now we have 2 half square triangles, so we'll need to press this open. What we'll want to do is hold it open and set the iron down on it, because if we just put the iron on this corner and use it to roll this open, this line will bow. I'll show you what I mean. See, it's kind of gotten a little bit spoon shaped there. It's not difficult to fix if you catch it. You just have to pull it straight and use a lot of steam. I'm going to finish the rest of this pile and then I'll show you how this lays out. Here are all of our half square triangles. There's one left. What we need to do with these once they're pressed is we need to get rid of these dog ears. And then we need to square them up. So on this ruler, the square I want is actually there at the 45. So I'll lay that 45-degree line on my seam, and it looks like this corner is a little bit better. I'll lay that 45-degree line on my seam and then scoot the ruler until both corners are at 2.5 inch. And then I just trim off the excess. And now we can bring our plain squares back in and we're ready to lay this out. When we lay this out, we start with 4 squares that are the dark and light blue, and they need to be laid out so that they make a pinwheel. And then we get the ones that are half blue and half white, and we'll make the points. Be careful with your color placement, because if I put this one like this, it fits, but it's not right. It's got to be like this where it makes the point. Then And the next thing that goes in, 4 of our plain white squares. Now you have your center star. So you have a blue and white half square, or dark blue and white half square triangle there. You'll put the next one right there. And we'll do the same thing all around. Then we take the light blue and white half square triangles, and we do the same thing. Now we have to build up our corners, and we do that with the light blue and dark blue half square triangles. So the most important thing is to make sure that your line points out. If it starts running diagonal across, it's not going to work. So we'll just place these. And the easiest way to remember how these go is that whatever color this is opposite. So right here we have dark blue. We'll put light blue against it. Right here we have light blue. We'll put dark blue against it. And we've put that one in wrong. So now we just need one in each corner. And again, it's the 2 blues. This time we'll place it like colors together because it's going to complete these diamonds. And this is also where you'll find your mistakes if you've made any. One last row. Now we just have to build our final row. So we'll start by putting these dark blue squares in the corners. And then we'll put a white square on either side of them. Now if you'd rather these dark blue squares be white, or if you'd rather they all be blue, or whatever color you're using, you can cut 16 of the plain squares in one color. The way I've done it, I need 4 in blue and 12 in white. Alright, so now we have a pile of dark blue or light blue and white half square triangles. So we'll just go around and we'll put the points on everything. Now we'll pick these up and sew them together. As you can see, it shrinks up quite a bit once you take off the 1/4 inch seam allowance. Keeping it all laid out will also help you find if you've made an error, like the one I just found. Like that. Okay. Which makes that go like that. There we go, that's better. So now I can figure out these last two pieces because they got turned around. And they go in like that. There we are. So now there's only one more row to sew together, and then we can sew all of these together. We've got half of it done. Now instead of continuing on this way, we'll put this half together because this part is going to be the most difficult part to match up, and we don't want to match it and then stretch it out of place. Alright, so now we're down to sewing the two halves together. We really want to make sure that the points here match up. Out here my points got off a little bit. That won't be as noticeable as if the center star doesn't match up. That's the most important part. So we're going to put that together, and then we're going to use a pin. And here is our 16-inch mini quilt top, pressed flat with most of the loose threads removed. There's a lot of things we could do with this. We could quilt it and put a back on it and give it to some little kid for their baby doll. We could actually quilt it, maybe put some waterproof backing on it, and we could use it as a placemat for a house plant. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a throw pillow, and I'll show you how to do that in my next video. Let's get back to the big quilt. Alright, now that you've seen how it comes together, here's the mini block and the big quilt, and the only difference is the size of the initial square. I've got the different sizes of squares to make different quilts down in the description box below, as well as yardage requirements. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. In an upcoming video, we'll turn that block into a pillow, and then we'll have a pillow to match our blue quilt.